In the darkness of the African night, as the stars of the Sahel faintly shimmer over the endless sand dunes, a special ritual is being prepared in a small mud brick house. This isn't just a wedding ceremony. It's an ancient tradition of the Hausa people, where even in the most intimate moment of life, a woman remains hidden from prying eyes. Imagine, the groom waits in the next room, while the bride, covered in heavy fabrics from head to toe, prepares to meet her future husband. But what's most striking is that even on her wedding night, the woman's face remains covered by a traditional veil. This isn't just a custom. It's an entire philosophy of life, where modesty becomes strength and concealment a form of protection. How could such an amazing social adaptation have arisen? And what does it tell us about how human communities develop unique survival strategies in harsh environments? The roots of tradition in the sands of time. The Hausa are one of the largest peoples in Africa, numbering over 30 million, scattered across northern Nigeria and southeastern Niger. Their land is the Sahel, a transitional zone between the Sahara Desert and the humid rainforests, where survival depends on the ability to adapt to extreme conditions. In this harsh environment, Islam arrived not as a conquest, but as a salvation. Traders from North Africa, Mali, Borneo, and Guinea brought not only goods, but also a new system of social organization that was perfectly suited to the nomadic life in the desert. Religion became not just a faith, but a way to structure society for maximum survival in conditions of constant uncertainty. But why did the concealment of a woman's face become a central element of this adaptation? Anthropologists explain this through the lens of social survival, when cultural practices develop not by chance, but as a response to specific environmental challenges. Al-hijab as social technology. A Hausa culture, the hijab is not just a religious covering. It's a complex social technology that performs many functions simultaneously. The traditional Hausa hijab, known as kalabi, in combination with gali, shawl, creates a multi-layered system of protection. First, it's physical protection from the scorching Sahel sun and sandstorms that can last for days. The dense fabric protects the skin from UV radiation and prevents dehydration, a critical factor in conditions where daytime temperatures regularly exceed 113 degrees Fahrenheit. Second, it's social protection. In a culture where tribal conflicts and raids were a constant threat, concealing a woman's beauty became a way to avoid unwanted attention. A woman in a hijab became a less visible target, which increased the chances of safety for the entire community. Third, it's an economic strategy. Hausa women traditionally engaged in trade and crafts. Concealing their faces allowed them to move freely through markets and conduct business without drawing undue attention to their gender or marital status. Rites of passage and identity formation. Particularly interesting is how Hausa culture uses rites of passage to shape female identity. Unlike many other cultures, where a wedding is a moment of unveiling the bride, in the Hausa tradition, it's a moment of concealment. The process of preparing the bride, known as kayan zanche, includes not only physical beauty, henna on the hands, aromatic oils, jewelry, but also ritual wrapping. The girl literally disappears under layers of fabric, symbolically transitioning from one social status to another. This ritual has deep psychological meaning. Concealing the face creates a sense of protected space where a young woman can adapt to her new role without external pressure. Studies show that such rites of passage significantly reduce stress and help to better integrate into a new social role. The wedding night, intimacy through distance. But the most surprising aspect of the Hausa tradition is that even on the wedding night, a woman's face may remain partially covered. This isn't cruelty or suppression. It's a unique form of intimacy, where closeness is achieved not through full disclosure, but through gradual, conscious unveiling. Intimacy a wajen Hausa, konseptin nawari, akai physical intimacy sai ashe process ba komawa. Husband da waye may spend first weeks or even months gradually getting to know each other through touch, voice, smell, all senses except sight of the face. This creates a special form of emotional intimacy where every small discovery becomes precious. Anthropologists call this intimacy through distance, a paradoxical phenomenon where restrictions actually strengthen the emotional bond between partners. Similar practices can be found in other desert cultures, among the Berbers of Morocco, the Bedouins of Arabia, where harsh environmental conditions have shaped unique ways of expressing closeness. Social roles and female autonomy. Surprisingly, in Hausa society, concealing the face doesn't limit female autonomy. On the contrary, it protects it. Hausa women traditionally possess significant economic independence, participating in trade, crafts, and even political decisions at the community level. The hijab in this context functions as social invisibility. A woman can move and act freely without being subjected to constant social control. This is especially important in a patriarchal society where female autonomy must balance with traditional expectations. Research shows that Hausa women often perceive the hijab not as a restriction, but as a tool of liberation. It allows them to participate in public life while maintaining control over their private sphere. The architecture of intimacy. The physical architecture of Hausa homes also reflects this philosophy of concealment. Traditional Hausa houses are built with thick adobe walls, which not only protect against the heat, but also create a clear division between public and private space. Inside the house, there is a complex system of rooms and passages where women's spaces are carefully separated from men's. This isn't isolation, but the creation of a controlled environment where a woman can choose the degree of her interaction with the outside world. The marital chamber in a Hausa home is a special space, often decorated with intricate patterns and incense, where intimacy develops in conditions of maximum privacy. Here, the concealment of the face becomes the final barrier, which is gradually overcome as trust develops between the spouses. Modern adaptations of an ancient tradition. In the modern world, the Hausa tradition of concealing the face continues to evolve. Young Hausa women often adapt traditional practices to urban conditions, using modern materials and styles, but retaining the basic principles of modesty and gradual unveiling. Interestingly, many modern Hausa couples are reinterpreting the wedding night not as a one-time event, but as the beginning of a long process of mutual discovery. Some couples consciously stretch the unveiling process over weeks or months, using this time for deep emotional bonding. Psychological aspects of concealment. From a psychological point of view, the Hausa practice of concealing the face creates a unique dynamic in relationships. When the visual component is limited, other senses become hypersensitive. Voice, touch, and smell take on special significance in the process of getting to know a partner. This creates a special form of erotic tension, where anticipation becomes more important than the act of unveiling itself. Many Hausa women describe the moment of first fully revealing their face to their husband as a deeply intimate and transformative experience that creates a special bond between spouses. Comparison with other cultures. The Hausa practice of concealing the face on the wedding night isn't unique in the global context, but it represents a particularly interesting case of cultural adaptation. Similar traditions can be found among the Berber tribes of North Africa, some Bedouin clans of the Arabian Peninsula, and even in certain communities of Central Asia. Common to all these cultures is that they developed in harsh environments, deserts, highlands, steppes, where survival depended on the cohesion of the community and the protection of its most vulnerable members. Concealing women became a way to protect the reproductive potential of the group from external threats. Ritual aspects and symbolism. In the Hausa tradition, the concealment of the bride's face is rich in symbolic meaning. Each layer of fabric, each pattern on the hijab has a specific meaning: protection from the evil eye, blessing of ancestors, wish for fertility. The process of gradually revealing the face is accompanied by special prayers and blessings, which are pronounced by the older women of the family. This turns an intimate moment into a sacred ritual, connecting the couple's personal life with the spiritual traditions of the community. Economic aspects of the tradition. Interestingly, the Hausa tradition of concealing the face also has important economic aspects. The size and quality of the bride's hijab often reflect the social status and economic position of the family. Rich fabrics, intricate embroidery, precious jewelry, all this becomes a way of demonstrating family wealth. Islamic principles encourage modesty in the size of the mahr, marriage gift, which creates an interesting balance between demonstrating status and religious modesty. Families often spend more on quality fabrics for the bride's hijab than on the wedding ceremony itself. The impact of globalization and urbanization. Modern processes of globalization are having a complex impact on Hausa marriage traditions. On the one hand, urbanization and education are leading to a gradual softening of some traditions. Young Hausa women in cities often adapt the tradition of concealing the face to modern realities. On the other hand, there is a strong movement to preserve cultural identity, especially among religious leaders and the older generation. This creates an interesting dynamic between tradition and modernization, where marriage customs become a field for negotiation between generations. Medical and hygienic aspects. The practice of concealing the face in the Sahel region has important medical aspects that are often overlooked in superficial analysis. The dense fabric of the hijab protects the delicate skin of the face from the scorching sun, sandstorms, and sudden temperature changes. In conditions of limited access to modern medicine and cosmetics, concealing the face becomes an important preventive measure against premature aging of the skin and various dermatological problems. Many Hausa women maintain youthful skin into old age thanks to constant protection from the sun. Educational and cultural programs. In modern Nigeria, there are various educational programs aimed at studying and preserving Hausa cultural traditions. Universities and research centers conduct anthropological studies documenting various aspects of marriage customs and their evolution in modern conditions. These programs help the younger Hausa generation better understand the historical and cultural significance of their traditions, including the practice of concealing the face on the wedding night. Many young people who have received a modern education are finding ways to combine respect for traditions with modern needs and opportunities. Hausa people have created unique social adaptation where concealing a woman's face, even on her wedding night, isn't a restriction but a form of protection and special intimacy. This tradition shows how human communities develop complex cultural strategies to survive in harsh environmental conditions. In a world where globalization often erases cultural differences, Hausa wedding traditions remind us of the richness of human experience and the endless variety of ways to organize social life. Understanding these kinds of cultural practices through the lens of environmental adaptation and social survival helps us see them not as archaic relics, but as wise solutions developed by generations to preserve and grow their community in the face of constant challenges.